Welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go.
Hello. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning.
I was actually crying about it. Not crying about it, but I've been crying the last few days about, what it was like being in corporate America and how hard it was on my body and my spirit and the hustle and carting around really heavy things, just like all the stuff. And so to be in a state now, and also I remember being in LA and feeling so overwhelmed that I felt like I was literally about to be homeless and doing like oracle readings on the Venice boardwalk to like make a little bit of money, and that crisis moment of like this is going to be my life unless I make a really big change. And during that whole time is when like the path of the dominatrix really opened up for me, when I just reached a point I was like, I'm not living like this another day. I'm not living like this another day. And took massive action, and suddenly like I had a plant medicine journey and saw that I felt like I was going crazy. I was in a straitjacket and that every one step forward required 5 steps behind me to take. And it was so overwhelming. And I knew I needed a safe space to get messy, and I needed to get out. And 2 days later, I had found a new home for my puppy. The next day I was out of LA. And a week later I was at Lisa's because she had invited me.
Oh, it's like, Lisa. Okay.
Yeah, Lisa was like, I had mentioned to her a few months before, like, I just need a safe space to get messy. And she's like, hey, my husband's away for the summer. If you want, you can come stay and, figure this whole thing out. And so Lisa was a huge blessing in that. And then I went to get trained in Miami with the dominatrix and stuff. And so I haven't like truthfully, I've only done a handful of professional sessions. It's become much more of like the embodiment piece of how to really empower women, like an embodied empowerment, and how to get them into that state. So that's been really more my thing than anything else. But I've been crying on and off the last few days about, I can feel it like right now coming up, like how hard this life had been in corporate, and at what cost.
Right.
And to be at this space now where, doing sensual body work and getting to impact people in really beautiful and profound ways. And that it's, it does take some energy out of me, but it's nothing like what I had, and it's like the little like annoying texts from guys who want to kind of like push their limits is nothing compared to the level of stress that I had with like the 180 emails I'd have to get through every day, and all the fires to put out, and the people freaking out about things not arriving on time, and like, the constant putting out fires, and that stress I was in constant stress survival mode for 14 years. And like that even when I was working on the road with Lisa and we were working for a seminar company, and it's still like the stress of travel, of getting there on time, of setting up the event, of like all the materials, of, you know, connecting with the people and working on, you know, supporting them on their journey and hopefully helping them close on a program that fits for them, and then working on collections when we go home, and like do like over and over again, week in, a week out, over and over, and that toll. And it was that constant, again, like that anxiety, the constant anxiety. So I appreciate, you know, it's interesting because I think a lot of women that enter into the space that I'm in, many of them do when they're younger, so they don't quite have the you know, they understand business in a different way. You know, they understand the life in a different way than I do. And I think for me, coming from having been in corporate, having been through those struggles, those kinds of struggles, having been through that level of stress, and investing so much of my money just on my health to help counter what I was going through in my job and in my world, and not to mention like depressed, low energy, fatigue, you know, and a lot of people would say like, oh, you seem like really happy. It's like, yeah, it took a lot of energy to like be that, you know, it took a lot of energy to be bubbly and upbeat, and, you know, going to the different things, and I care so much about the people, so then I'm like overstepping my own self-care and boundaries to like take care of others, and I think it's a hard place. And so I look at women now, like I cry for the women that are in the position I was in. I cry for that because I know now that I've been on the other side, now that I'm here, like I know what that was to be in that space and to feel like that was all I had and that I had no way out. And so to me, it's like I'm in a place now, like I'm like, okay, like I've consistently been able to support myself, even if it's little bits, but it's gotten me from place to place to place I couldn't have done in a job or tied down. I've been able to be free. I've lived in 6 different states, and the sensual body work has provided me so much, and the level that I do, because I care about relationships, and I care about impact, like it changes the game for how a lot of people are accustomed to receiving body work from somebody, so, or massage. And so I'm just I weep in gratitude. Oh God, you know. And so then I think about those women that are still stuck, and it's like I feel like I have a way that I can teach them to get out and to create a different life that feels good for them. And is it risky or risque? Yes, but God, how soul sucking it was to be in corporate. And, you know, as much as companies want to say they care about you, they really just care about profit. That's what they care the most about, which I understand, you know, in our economy. But just when you think you're not indispensable, as much as you think that you are, as soon as you're gone, there's someone else to fill that position. So what are we doing all of this for? What was I doing all that for? So it's very moving to me right now. And I think about how it's stuck and hard and tough those moments were, and I wasn't ready to do the work, but I think about the struggle and what the struggle's been the last 3 or 4 years. And it could have been a completely different game changer if there had been someone like me to show the way.
I think that's interesting, Jess, because I'm feeling the same way about being poly. You know, you and I talked about creating a business of the body work that you're doing, even for myself. And I think you're absolutely right. The download I was getting while you were talking was the reminder that when I was a young person, I can't even dare say I was in my teens. It could have been as early as college, but it could have been in my teens. I kind of feel like it was whenever the movie Best Little Whorehouse in Texas came out. And I was like, why are there only whorehouses for men to go to? Why isn't there one for women? And it's like, that's what I want to be when I grow up. I want to have a stable for women to come and be treated like their bodies are fantastic and that they can be loved and adored. And and when you were saying this, Jess, I realized that it's time. Part of what I was imagining was the normalcy of women like us doing work like you're doing. That it's just so easy and not part of not rejected because we live in such a prudish, country, right? This idea of body work is common everywhere else in the world, especially in Asia, and sensual body work, it's time for it. We have gotten, it's really interesting, the timing, especially now, is because now we have lived incredibly isolated life for 18 months. Many people haven't had the opportunity for touch. They haven't had the opportunity to be able to express themselves sensually. Doesn't have to specifically be sexually. And I thought, what pioneers are we? Even the three of us, you, Elle, because you're exploring and asking the questions, and Jess and I, because we're being led to be more outspoken about what it is we're involved with and finding the courage to say what it is we're doing in our lives to the general public. And that's to our friends, our family, that because we are just normal, average people. I mean, there's nothing special about me. Of course there is, but you know what I mean. And I feel as though, because I'll tell you something, Jess, I gave a sensual massage to one of my lovers this weekend, and he was blown away. And I had asked him for a massage the few days before and he gave me a massage, and it was just sort of like touching my body up and down. I was like, well, make it sensual. It doesn't have to, it's not a body. I'm not asking for a
massage.
Yeah. Sensual. So he's rubbing his hands on my ass like this. And I was like, okay. So on Monday I gave him a sensual massage. He couldn't catch his breath because he was so blown away by what I was doing. And I thought, because I kept saying to Jess, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I couldn't do this professionally. I couldn't give a massage professionally. What do I know? And I didn't say to him that I was thinking of charging $1,000 for a 3-hour session, but I thought, what the heck? Why not ask for the moon? I don't have to do it if nobody doesn't want it the way I want to offer it. But if I'm willing to talk about it, to put it out there, if Jess is willing to say that my heart, quote unquote, my heart hurts at the thought of what I had to go through being in corporate America. And it bursts with incredible joy when I get to express my love to people who don't feel that on a daily basis. How is that wrong? How can that be condemnable? How can that not be seen as just the greatest work that there is? There, I'm off my soapbox.
Thank you. I love how you encapsulated that, Lisa. And I have like tears like coming up because, there's been so much of like the bad and wrongness, about touching our bodies and touching other people's bodies, and what that is. So anyways, I love that you did the sensual massage. And I think that for a lot of women, it's confidence, it's permission, it's support, it's courage. And I really, I will forever be so thankful to the dominatrix, because I learned so much about that I don't think that I would have been comfortable. Like, I remember my very first BDSM session that I had with a client, and he had been gifted to me by a girlfriend who was a former dom, and he was much more sensual based, and I was still very like uptight. and still had like kind of my hands out away. And he had wanted to conclude our session with him self-pleasuring, and he wanted me to be close to him and look at him. And I couldn't even look at his cock. I couldn't do it. And he knew, he saw that, he recognized that, he expressed that at the end, that he felt like I didn't want it. I didn't want to be near him. I didn't want to see it. And so that was, so to be where I am now, and I credit ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts. I really give a lot of credit to that environment to help open me up in so much deeper and bigger ways, to have this deeper piece of me express itself, and also having had the dominatrix piece be one for me to like practice my boundaries and how to hold myself and how to speak and things like that 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 has informed me so much. So these are the things I want to really support women who feel the call, who feel the call to do deeper work, who maybe are used to touch and love that, and maybe understand massage in a certain way, and guide them more into this deeper, soulful, like you said, Lisa, where like our hearts are bursting with joy to bring love to people that are so depleted and malnourished and have like dying on the vine in a way. And that's men and women, it's not one or the other, but just people are I believe people are feeling that deprivation, and providing that is such a gift and an honor. And I would do this. So I'm so grateful. Like every day I think about, if something's a little irritation, like the amount of irritations in my life right now, it's like grains of sand compared to what I was in, like the little things that like just so little. And I've done a lot of inner work, so I know that definitely impacts it. But God, I just think about this, like the stress, constant stress, and still like, this work it's not consistent yet for me. So that's part of my path too, and finding the good places to do this. And I'm super blessed. It's just great.
Well, I think the other thing that I want to make sure that our listeners hear and pay attention to is the fact that we all, or you and I, well, no, we all, because we are this for Ella, we have all had mentors and guides take us to the next step, right? We've had mentorship, we've had coaching, we've had inspiration from women and people to lead us down the path that we're on. Now, of course, when we're in communication with people, I'm going to say in the playground, then it just means that the playground has this great big wall around it right now, and our mentorship and our inspiration doesn't get seen unless we expose the playground and let people join us, right? So if people are those of us who are in the playground continue to meet more people in the playground, so we are constantly surrounded by people who are inspiring us, guiding us, answering our questions. But if the playground is scary and hidden, if it looks more like a haunted house,
dungeon,
or a dungeon, than a playground, right? That's, that can be one of the things that we might consider as what it is that we're doing. We're turning the dungeon into a playground, right? We're making it approachable. We're making it fun. We're encouraging people to hear the laughter and the joy that is in the playground, and getting away from what the imagery has been of it being a dungeon and scary, torturous,
and control. About control, right? But and we spoke about on previous episodes about setting boundaries. I didn't even know that was even I didn't even know you could do that. So suddenly it's like, okay, and Jess described it to me. Again, you can set boundaries, and if you don't want that done, you just say, You don't want that done. You talk about it
Right.
beforehand. Again, that's incredibly powerful. And she described it to me as being, you know, part of it, you know, being in control. So
yeah, I have I don't want to lose the point of the mentorship that, you know, we're being called to talk about this. And Ella has answered the call to listen to us, right? And anybody who's listening to us is also answering some kind of question inside them that is leading them to want to explore and find out what's possible for them. But we've all had mentorship, and I don't feel like, I think when you said earlier, it's like you lacked confidence until you were shown how to do it, shown how to hold yourself, shown how to have the conversation. And so we're women, so we're talking to women. I don't mean to be saying only women only, but to people who want to play, the players in the playground, having the space to be able to ask the questions makes me realize that one of the things that I'm excited about offering is the opportunity to have these conversations as more of a mastermind for larger groups of people, so that others can ask questions, like in like a once a week mastermind group. And it could be a small group that meets on a regular basis. And because I feel like people want to know and want real answers from real people. And I'm not sure that we could be any less real than we are with all of our, you know, lessons and things that we've learned and mistakes that we make, you know, we're still learning, and we're still open and knowing and willing to be vulnerable and say, hey, you know what, I don't know everything I need to know, but it's good to have a group of people who want to work it out with me.
and I think too, for me, you know, again, being, you know, more of the, you know, the vanilla, it's just nice to have a great conversation. It's casual conversation and nobody's wrong. And it's just, I mean, just talking and being educated without being, again, being scared or any of those other things that go along with it. So I appreciate that. It's like, wow, I had no idea this even existed. And that's how, you know, how vanilla I am. So I'm excited. I want to know more. I want to know more about the sensual massages. I gotta tell you.
Yes. I'm here to answer any questions. I've been reflecting how I think I feel the embodiment of the godmother, you know. So the godmother is that woman, that character, that figure in someone's life that is there to help them in their religious development. And to me, it's more divine than that. And I recognize how I'm like, well, I'm more than, I'm a mentor, I'm a coach, I'm, you know, a priestess, I'm a dominatrix, I'm an oracle, I'm like, you know, I'm a body worker, a temple, I'm very temple oriented. And so really the sacredness, but also the play, like it, and I keep coming back to the play. I keep looking around at how, and I've done this, I've been like this solemnness, the soberingness of like, you know, practices and rituals and things like that. And it's like, how do we incorporate play? And then how do we bring sacredness into our daily lives? And I see myself being a godmother to those who want to like grow and play in their own spiritual development. And it's such a gift to be, and people's sexual development, to be a safe space that people can come to and being like, I've always been curious about this thing, but I don't know. And, you know, it's a really special time in our lives. And there's a story I wanted to share. It happened recently. It happened on the Lionsgate portal. It happened on August 8th. And I was at a hotel. I was in an elevator, and there was a teenager and her mom, and in there, great women, and the teenager had crazy artwork on her nails, so I was commenting on that, and that's how it got started. And so we're all having this conversation, and they mentioned how there's a predator out in Atlanta right now who's very dangerous, And I got outside the elevator and I was like, oh, the mother was talking about self-defense. And I was like, oh, I can show you a move that I learned through some training that I did. And this one is my favorite. This is the one that I got down pat on the first try, and all that. And I think it's super important for all women to know, have some core moves. But then I shared, I was like, so I'm a dominatrix. And then I was like in just total street clothes and totally, normal looking. And I was saying how there was a couple of years ago, I was at a Forte Femme intensive by Midori in San Francisco. And there was a night, it was very late, I was going to have to walk through the city by myself for about a half hour. And through a section with a lot of homeless people. And it's just not, traditionally you don't want to walk around. I do not want to walk around at night by myself in cities that I'm not familiar with. So I had a crop with me. And for those of you who are not familiar, a crop is something that horse riders use to, propel their horses to move forward and faster. And so I had a crop with me. It's used in BDSM. And I was walking down the sidewalks with it. And every 30 feet or so, I would take the crop and I would thwack it against the building, against something as I was walking by and making noise. Because the thing is that predators, they want an easy target. They don't want someone that's going to be an issue for them. And for women, especially, we traditionally, when we're on the streets, we want to kind of make ourselves small. We want to keep our heads down, and that actually makes us an easier target. Right. So for me to decide, I was going to make myself as loud and as big as I could. And I had this crop, which gave me a 6-foot radius around me. And I walked through the streets and there was a couple of men, they were like, oh, how good did the guy get that night? And like, oh, I wonder who she's going up against tonight, or, whatever it was. And they were making these jokes. And it was walking through the streets with that crop was the safest I've ever felt in my life at night. And I talked to Lisa about it afterwards, because I was like, imagine if there were 1,000 women who were trained and had crops and walked around the streets and in life, like how would that shift and change their sense of empowerment as they're entering into spaces with men? Because the bottom line that I want women to get is that there's predators. There are definitely predators, and you cannot, that's just the way nature is, right? So rather than having us shut down and try to look small and not feminine or whatever it is, to instead empower these women to know that, and then how to be prepared when those predators come, how to face it, how to be ourselves, and then also feel like our power in it. Because the bigger and brighter and stronger that we are, the less that men want men don't want a problem, especially those predators. They just want the easy target. So anyways, I was talking to the teenager and the mom. We were sharing stories, and I'm just there. And the mom was and she's a badass, so grateful. And I told her, I grew up, my mom taught me to be afraid of everything. I grew up afraid of everything, because that was all my mom knew how to do, was put a bubble around you, and that's it. So to be in this space now, and I so appreciate the power moms out there in the world, and that's what I want to imbue. But the mother felt it was kismet. It was absolute fate that I would step onto the elevator with them and share these tips and stories. But it reminded me of that I'm here to really empower the women, as in all of the ways, in their power and also in their sensuality. But for them to feel like that they can be their full self, and not have to dim their light or shut it off to protect themselves. So.
And I think, Jess, for me, obviously we lived together for a long period of time, and so I know you as that very kind, soulful, nurturing woman since early on, day one. And so I really, really appreciate that on this journey, that there are people like Lisa was saying that can help us if we're unsure or it's uncharted territory for us. They can help us kindly, I mean, there's nothing, there's nothing vicious or vindictive about anything that you guys are doing. It's just kind and, here's our experience and, being open. So I appreciate that. I love to have a leader like that. So thank you for who you are. And Lisa, I feel the same with you. You have the uncanny ability to share authentically and raw. And I appreciate that. So thanks, ladies. I just wanted to share that.
Maybe I overshare.
No. I love it. Share more.
Well, I can share. I don't know if you can see the bump on my head.
Yeah, what happened?
A little bit. Yeah, I had a date on Friday night with one of my guys. He's my he'll be my long-term relationship, it seems. I talked about him last week. We were having the conversation. He's the one who's got the girlfriend, and they're reading the book More Than Two, because she's a little bit jealous, but that wasn't it. I was at his house. We were having dinner. We made dinner. I got there. He made me a drink, an old fashioned, and we played a little bit. I started making dinner. We had a delicious, yummy meal. And after the meal, I started feeling I got cramps, and I was like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I was like, oh, I definitely do not feel well. And I walked down the hall a little bit, and I guess I must have slid down the wall. And he found me on my back on the floor. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm okay. I just had a little bit of a dizzy spell, and that was fine. I got up and I lay down for a moment, and I was like, no, got to go to the bathroom again. Went to the bathroom again, and I ended up doing a face plant off the toilet, and I just cracked my head open.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it was really pretty scary. And thankfully I have a fantastic tribe filled with medical people. So I texted them, and it had happened one time before. I think, Jess, we'd been in Ohio, and I flew home. As a matter of fact, I think we were in Ohio. Oh, maybe. And I flew home. I hadn't eaten anything in 36 hours, which I didn't realize because we worked so hard, and we just worked through lunch, and then we're too exhausted at the end of the day for dinner. So we fell asleep. We had a 5 a.m. flight. And on the flight home, I had a honey jack, maybe two. And I got home and I fainted and completely passed out, did exactly the same thing, called my sister. So this time I recognized that I hadn't eaten anything all day. I had an old fashioned. By the time I ate, it hadn't caught up with me. And so one of my friends said that it was a vasovagal syncope or something like that. And it's just a sudden loss of blood pressure. And these are the symptoms. And I was like, yep, that's exactly what it was. I'm completely and absolutely fine. But yeah, I'm off the juice for a little while. I don't drink that much anyway. So having a shot of alcohol for me, like 4 times a year on an empty stomach, my body just does not know how to handle it at all. So I did not go to the hospital, but I have a Mercedes-Benz break in my skin. So if I have a scar, at least it'll be interesting.
And
yeah.
super luxury,
Yeah, I'm
have
totally
a Mercedes.
I'm totally high end. Exactly.
So high end.
What was really fantastic with this guy was amazing. He just took really good care of me. I could see this is a man who really expresses his love through action and service. And he was just so wonderful, taking care of me and making sure I was okay, and got me in the shower and got me some coconut water so I could up my electrolytes. And he ended up driving me home. And instead of me driving home, it was an hour from where he lived.
Boy. Yeah.
And so he drove me home. He made sure I was okay. Ev took over once I was home. And instead of Ev going back with him, interesting turn of events, Ev had a date with his girlfriend for the next day. So we arranged for her to take Ev back to the house to get the car and come home. So, and they hit it off. They had a great time. So he's having a lovely little flirting experience and dating. this new woman who is the girlfriend of my boyfriend. So we are, technically we are swinging or swapping, one of those two. Not necessarily poly, but it's definitely swinging, swapping. So it's in that way, it was totally a completely fun and fantastic turn of events. So it worked out quite well. So yeah, that's my overshare for this week. Is I fell off the toilet. You can imagine me like Elvis, just like bang, just right. It's awful. So, and I went to donate blood because we have a severe shortage of blood right now. And I went to donate blood and I was like, I fainted the other day. I don't know how soon you'd feel comfortable with me donating blood. And they said to wait 2 weeks until it was completely healed.
Oh,
Technically there was some concussive impact for the brain. So she just wanted to wait a couple of weeks before we made the donation. So I'm making my husband and my another boyfriend, my cub, donate blood on my behalf. So
great.
I'm making sure the blood flows.
So Jess, I'm fixated on this. When are we going to talk about doing, the sensual massage thing?
Yeah,
I think maybe our listeners are ready for. Yeah.
Oh, did I tease you and work you up enough?
Yes, come on now.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Tell me more. Show me do something. I mean, I'm waiting.
Yeah, it's super interesting because I'm actually about to expand my therapy and how I do it. I'm staying with dear friends, and one of them is a chiropractor, but he's like a medical wizard and trained in massage and many different disciplines of it. So he's developed a system that he's actually teaching me. And so I'm really excited about it because one of the premises is being able to really get people's sexual energy flowing in their body without there being any kind of genital touch at all. So,
boy. Okay.
Yeah,
I love that.
So being able to actually open that up to even more of a clinical is not the right word, but more of like a therapeutic space from it being more of a, bedroom space, so to speak. So, and, I, of course, want to support anybody. I think everyone should know how to give a really great sensual massage. And I have a lot of talent, natural talent, and now it's about to get developed in deeper ways. So I'm excited to share that journey. But what kind of questions do you have that I can start answering?
Can you just talk about it in general and kind of what the process is?
Can you describe it?
Yeah, describe it. Describe it, please.
Describe what a session looks like, if you wouldn't mind, in gross, absolute 100% detail.
Oh my gosh.
I love it, Lisa.
Well, I'm telling you, when I got my yoga massage, he took 45 minutes to explain to me exactly what he was going to do so that we had complete and 100% consent. And I really appreciated that. Now I'm not asking you to spend 45 minutes doing it, but I would like details if you wouldn't mind sharing it, because it sounds lovely in an abbreviated way, obviously.
Sure. Well, I will start with I'll start with actually when they originally reached out to me, so it all starts with the conversation, right? So someone will reach out. We'll say, I love John. John's great. John's a great man. John reaches out. He's interested in experiencing a full body massage from me and sensual massage, and kind of shares the length of time he wants to experience it, if he would like it at some place that I'm hosting or a place that he's hosting. And then what I do is I like to say, can we have a quick call? And so I have a conversation because I want to hear their voice. I want them to hear mine. I want to feel their energy. Because I'll get the text like, "Hey babe," or "You available?" or things like that. And I have some safety measures in place to screen and filter out the phone calls. So I have a conversation with John, and I'll say "Hey, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for reaching out. I hear that you're interested in having a full body sensual massage. That's fantastic. And
you're interested in an hour, just do a, like, just connecting, building rapport. And then discussing like, hey, I want to make sure that we're very clear that I am not a full service, meaning I'm not an escort. I don't provide full service, that this is just a massage. I want to make sure you're aware and okay with that. And he'll say, yes, I am aware. I'm like, okay. And have you experienced a massage before? I have. Okay. Are there any questions you have for me at this time, this place, this amount of tribute, of donation, yes. Okay, cool. And so when they get to my space, after I've checked in, I've confirmed, we're on the way, I also ask them to send me a photo, a selfie, so I can see what they look like. And they've been really great about that. I also ask for deposits. So when they come into the space, I welcome them in, I sit them down. I want to see how they're feeling, what's coming up for them. If they have any injuries in their bodies, I should know about. Where they carry their stress. I like to know where they carry their stress. I go over again the details of the full body sensual massage. And how I explain it is something along the lines of, well, first I want to know how they want to feel. What is it that they want to experience? How do they want to feel at the end of the session? So some men want to feel really relaxed, or women. Some people want to feel really relaxed. Some want to feel invigorated. Some want to feel excitement. So it's helpful to know what it is that they want to feel. Some want to feel peace. They want to feel happy. They want to feel satisfied. All these different things. So really tuning in to see what it is that they want to feel. And then what I'll do is I'll have them strip down, disrobe, and take their clothes off. And I have them lay face down on either the massage table or the bed. And I always ask for permission to touch their body. So I say, like, may I touch your body? And even though they've signed up, even though they've confirmed it, even though they've paid for it, I still like to always ask that permission piece. And so they're like, oh, yes, please. Oh, my God. Yeah, thank you. And so I use some certain oil that I love to use on people's bodies. You can use all kinds. Coconut oil is very popular. And I pour some on my hands and I rub them together. And I'm either seated, usually I'm seated beside them or standing beside them. And I say a prayer, and then I put my hands onto their back, and I just start moving my hands around in long strokes, and just moving my hands, feeling over their backs. I'll rock their back from side to side very gently. That's a move I learned in one of my trainings. It reminds us of when we're babies and we're being moved from side to side. So it's a way of comforting the nervous system. And so I typically start with, I'll usually straddle the person just because I like the positioning for me personally of my body. And I will utilize the underside of my forearms. I've learned that the underside of your forearm is the ultimate tool. It's the softest piece. It's wide, it's long, so you can access a good amount of surface area with it. And as you can hear, my voice like drops into something much more soothing and calm. And this is how I actually speak when I do sessions with people, when I do coaching sessions, as I drop into this voice. So it becomes very hypnotic and soothing. So there's a space of like slowing down and everything. And don't get me wrong, most of my sessions we're laughing, like we're connecting, we're talking, we're sharing, but there's all kinds of different emotions and feelings. It just comes down to how we're showing up. So it's certainly not a one size fits all. It's just kind of, to me, it's about showing up in the moment. And that's something that's one of my gifts. So using the underside of my forearm as my primary tool, as I'm stroking in an even fashion and pressure going up people's bodies. Oftentimes I'll try to move my torso in alignment with the forearm. So my full body is moving like that. So there's a sense of like bringing that consciousness there, but also the weight of it. I've been taught to let your body be the weight
you can allow the weight of your arms without having to really push or struggle too much. So I do that, and I use my hands a lot. My hands are my primary energy tool, even if it's BDSM or if it's the sensual body work. My hands are such an energy piece that I use. And so I'll utilize my hands to massage, but it's and definitely like the heel of my hand. I use the heel of my hand a lot, and I utilize it and feel around the back and the shoulders. I really let my hands explore. And there's a piece. So I probably spend like a good amount of time on their back themselves, and then moving their arms, and I'm learning about like blood flow, right? So wherever we move our arms, that's wherever we're stroking, that's where the blood will go. So if I found the other day that if I'm moving the blood flow up to someone's head, they're going to get very heady. But if I want to get them aroused, I want to bring the blood flow down towards their groin, towards their genitals. So wherever I am on their body, directing the blood flow to that area to do that. And a lot of times I'll actually lay on top of the client. So if they're on their stomach, I'll rest myself, or I'll move my torso up and down their back. And it's very nurturing for them to feel that. It's very nourishing to feel that peace, and of course aroused as well. But there's just something very nice about having that closeness. And I'll even like press my cheek on them as I'm like, my hands are moving up and down their sides and just laying on their backs. And it's a really sweet space to be in. And then I'll move my way down to the lower back. A lot of people carry a lot of their stress along their lower back. So I do these sweeping motions with my hands and my thumbs along just above their glutes. So I'll move along the ridges along there, and that usually feels really good for them. And then it's interesting. It's interesting that like the spots that most traditional massages won't go to for very obvious reasons. When we do sensual body work, we can go there. So like massaging their glutes and their there's a pressure point with their sit bones, so you can press into those, which is like halfway down their glutes, but like really like inside, so you can press into that. So there's these different acupressure points throughout the body that you can press to really like relieve things. So with the glutes, you can like grab like almost like dough, and like with your hands, and like you're kneading the dough. You can do that with their glutes, and that feels really, really yummy for them. Oftentimes I'll use the palm of my hand to get in deeper. And one of the tools I do use, I recommend you use it very carefully, is your elbow. So the elbow is an extremely hard piece, but it's good if there's like certain spots to get into, especially with the fascia. So the fascia that's like right underneath your skin is these layers that can get bunched up together and congested. So working on the fascia underneath the skin to help loosen it up and stretch it out. I don't know if I'm getting too granular here, but like, so, just again, with the glutes, like kneading and playing with it, these are areas that actually feel really, really yummy. They get completely overlooked. And then I'll work on their lower legs, the backs of their legs, and around their calves and moving up. So there's so many techniques and brushstrokes and moves, but I think what's key is your presence. They can feel it. They can feel when you're present with them. They can feel it when you're thinking about other things. They can feel it when you're just clocking in and clocking out. They can really tell. They on an energetic level, even if it's not conscious, like they can feel it. So bringing your full presence to the space and having it be fun, that you're there to explore. And I say time and again, like just make it playful, especially if it's with your partners. Like, oh, I want to try this new thing that like, I've been learning about. Are you open to receiving, like, it's kind of like kinky sensual massage for me. Like, I would love to just like rub oil all over you and just take my time and really bring like this yumminess and feel your body. Like, are you open to that? So there's different ways of engaging with your partner about that. The bombs of the feet are super important. There's reflexology points in there. So I like to get my knuckles in there and kind of like rub up against the underside of the feet, and then like massaging with my thumbs and like the heel of them and the balls of the feet. I'll take the toes and I'll twist them. I'll hold them and twist them lightly and help them like pop if they need a release. So I kind of do all of that, and then I'll have them turn over. And sometimes it's actually more often than not, I know most people carry stress in their necks. And so if I'm doing this on a bed, I'll actually sit up against the headboard and I'll have them lean up against me, and I'll work on their necks and their shoulders and give them a head massage. And that piece is so yummy and juicy for them. And there's a client that I recently massaged, and he mentioned, he's like, oh my gosh, I can feel my feet. I can feel my hands. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, I didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. And then it turned out that his feet and hands had been numb for 5 years.
Wow.
And he hadn't felt them. And he's like, I'm feeling tingles in my fingers. I'm feeling like in my toes, I can feel them again. Like, they've been numb for 5 years. So that was super exciting for him. Of course, to feel, and I didn't know. Again, we just kind of like, show up. So then I have the clients turn over, and I'll, if it's a man, I'll, man or woman, I'll massage their pecs, their pectoral areas. For the women, I'll massage their breasts. And these are really nourishing parts of the body that get very overlooked. Again, for obvious reasons. So being in a space where I'm bringing like these nurturing sweeping motions for the breasts, and I can talk about that in another episode, but for the I will say, for women, if you want like a natural breast enhancement and you do not have breast cancer or any tumor, things like that, you can take your hands and go down the outside of your breasts and then go up the inside. So it's a sweeping motion that's like a U. So you go down the outside, up the inside, and then circle again, down the outside and up the inside. So that kind of circular motion. And you can massage on the fronts of your breasts as you're doing it, and it's a natural breast enhancement. So it brings like more blood flow, it brings more spaciousness in there. So like Kim and Nami's talked about that, so as Layla Martin. Both of them are teachers of mine that I've studied under. So like these are like, and there's all kinds of health benefits. Like, women listening, please massage your breasts every day. It's truly one of the most nourishing things that you want. And if you want to make your breasts smaller, you would just do the opposite. You would go from the inside down, up the outside, downside, inside, down the inside, up the outside. So for me, I want mine to be juicier and more full. So go down the outside and then up the inside, and you'll start noticing it. I started doing them like every day again, and it does make a difference. So that's a really yummy piece. So so down the outside, up the inside, and then but massaging the whole breast, like you're cupping the breasts and you're like giving them a good squeeze. It's very, very yummy for your system. And there's all kinds of neurons and lymphatic and all the, sciencey things, biological anatomy stuff.
See, this is why we need the mastermind. Do a weekly Zoom, right? And, we can all sit there for 5 minutes while we're chatting and just, do this and, kind of make it. It was funny because I had a girls' weekend last weekend, not the weekend before last. And one of the things that all the girls who are spending the night are bi. and we were all going to be sleeping in beds together. And I was like, who wants to sleep with a straight girl? Because I'm the straight girl, right? And they were giggling and laughing. And I was like, well, you know, I first of all, I don't want to sleep with anybody because I snore and it's embarrassing for me. And I don't want to keep anybody up. And so I really do want a bed by myself, or I'll sleep on the couch. I'm totally fine with that, right? I know who I am. I get it, right? All those years of, I swear, for the 3 years that we were on the road, Jess, I shared a room with you. And so you can attest to the fact that I snore because we have shared a hotel room. But
Confirmed.
I wouldn't share a room with anybody but Jess because we lived together and I was fine with her. But I ended up sharing a room with another friend of mine, and she was wondering, she says, oh, it makes me so happy to hear you snore because it helps me not miss my boyfriend so much. I'm like, oh, yay. So it's something good for whatever reason. But at the girls weekend, she's like, yeah, we don't really we're so exhausted by the end of the day. We all generally just go to sleep anyway. So don't worry about it. You know, I think maybe we're just chatting and talking, but you know, maybe we'll just all pull out our vibrators and masturbate together. And I was like, oh, well, I'm totally all into that. That's totally fine with me. I wouldn't mind doing that at all. So it's just this sort of thing that we're all women. We're all sort of normal. We're all completely average in terms of our looks and our bodies. We range in age and weight. We have all body types. And I was just like, oh yeah, I can just sit there and masturbate in front of other women. That'd be fine. And for me, it feels like, totally normal. I wouldn't even think twice about it. But I realized that to you, Ella, that might sound like the crazy, like you wouldn't catch me dead doing that for other people. Right? But I'm telling you, let's mark the date, because 1 year from now, we're going to revisit this and you're going to be like, oh my God, I did it. And it was so much fun.
Exactly. What have I been waiting for is what I'm going to say. What have I been waiting for?
Well, let's go back to the massage.
Yeah, you're killing me.
So get to the juicy parts.
Exactly.
Yeah. Deal with the juicy bits.
Yeah.
Come on, let's hear it.
So for women, you know, if you're massaging a woman, you want to make your way down slowly to her yoni, womb, kitty. You know, you want to make your way down there. So it's working almost like in a spiral. So it's like working with the breasts and then moving down into her belly and then moving down to her like hips and stuff, and then getting into her yoni. Like that's the way that the energy moves in a woman's body, whereas a man's energy will move up. So initiating, if you want to, initiating in the lingam penis massage and then massaging your way up to their heart. So women, their energy goes from their heart down to their wombs, and then men, it goes from their genitals, their penis, up to their heart. So for me, with the massage, what I'll do, there's a few different positions that I can get into. Sometimes if they're laying down, I'll sit in between their legs and have my legs straddled over them. Sometimes I'll be on my knees. Sometimes if I'm working with a massage table, I'll be on the side of them. Also, there's a position that seems to be common around women who do tantric work, and it's having scooching underneath. So she's facing the man and his legs are draping over her legs, and then, you know, massaging and stroking from there. I have lately kind of gotten oh my God, so many things. There was a day a few days ago that I gave a massage, and it was very, very sexy. It was definitely one of like the top sexiest massages I've ever done. And it actually involved me sitting on him with my ass facing him as I'm stroking him. And he's like, you know, massaging my butt as I'm massaging his penis. And it was super, super fun to do that. But typically I'm facing them. So I'm looking at them. And so here's the thing about cocks. I've been called a cock whisperer for many years. And this is before I did this work. And I just thought it was what I did with my boyfriends, honestly. I've come to recognize that penises have their own intelligence system.
and their own communication system. And my hands, it's like their penis and my hands communicate telepathically. Like it bypasses my mind, it bypasses their mind. It's just this totally different experience. So what I'll do is I'll usually cup my hands first over their penis. So let it like feel my hand's presence there. So this is going to get a little bit more like sacred, okay? Because I view this as like, it's super fun, it's awesome, it's all these things, but also recognizing that the penis, called a lingam, in Sanskrit means wand of light. So this is a wand of light, and our wombs for women, they're called yonis, and the Sanskrit for that is temple. So it's like, if you think about a temple, that it's dark inside there, and then there's the light that comes into the temple and lights it up. So if you were to like think about that, the men's penis is a light, a wand of light, and that every time they ejaculate, they are literally giving out the ability to birth millions of worlds in their sperm. So recognizing the importance of that when they do release, when they orgasm, that kind of power and potency they can utilize to manifest what they want in their life. And there's also something called cultivating the seed, which is another conversation, but it's essentially a man withholding and not orgasming, keeping that fuel, keeping it within him and letting it be a harness point. And that's an advanced pose technique that is
so
really life-changing.
Jess, why do they do that? Why do they hold? Why do they hold back? Tell me a little bit more about that, because I know somebody like that.
Yeah, so from the tantric or Taoist perspectives, there's tremendous power and life force that is held within their seed and in that kind of propulsion. So to, rather than sending it out, but like keeping it within themselves, it's like it's taking all of that power and utilizing it in their life. And so there's books about it. There's the multi-orgasmic man. I have a guy friend, actually, someone who he considers me having initiated him, and he went from masturbating several times a day, like it was a compulsion of his. It was actually a soothing technique when he was a child, from abuse that he had. So he would like go and masturbate to self-soothe, and so it became this habit and compulsion that he felt like he needed to do every day. And we actually met just over a year ago, and I changed I didn't know this at the moment, but he was like, oh, I have all this sexual energy and I don't know what to do with it. And I was like, oh, I can help you with that. He's like, really? You can? I'm like, yeah, I can show you some stuff. So like I came over a couple days later and I gave him a full body massage. And then when I told him, instead of him releasing, I told him he was not going to come, that he was going to pull that energy inside of him instead. And what he ended up having was like these full body energetic orgasms, and he didn't even know what was happening. So he went from being unconscious and like just jacking off multiple times a day because he had this energy and he didn't know what to do with it, and like, all this stuff, to like feeling what it's like to actually hold it and utilize it and send it throughout your body and having like these huge releases. And so since then he's really grown in like his practice. But I mean, it's increased his psychic abilities, like it's increased his manifestation abilities, it's increased his overall life vitality, it's increased I would say his health in general, his mental health, his emotional health, his spirit, like all of it has really developed as he's taken this, quite seriously. Like he went on to like study other practices and how to harness his seed and what to do with that energy with it, and the power of it. And then when he does occasionally decide to, have sexual intimacy with someone, it's like off the charts, beyond for both of them, because he's taken it from being an unconscious practice. It's kind of like you have like a magic tool that you didn't even know that you had. And so you've been taught that it's like, oh, like it's like a hammer, you just hit the nail, like, but it's actually like this amazing piece of this amazing tool that can bring so much into people's lives. So
it's an exciting piece. And I actually, I was thinking the other day, I want to support him in creating an OnlyFans site to like guide men on how to breathe and how to do those kinds of strokes to help them, in their sexual performance, but also in their performance in life. Because I have come to realize that if a man is not confident with his cock, he is not confident in his life.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's also men who don't realize the confidence that they do carry with their cocks. Like there's some men that I see and I'm like, wow, you have an amazing cock. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, like this is awesome. You should be super proud of it. Like channel that. Like when you want to like take on a challenge in your life, remember the confidence that you have in this like gift that you've been given, and like utilize that out into the world. So I do a lot of empowerment in that kind of space too. And then with men, there's men who will orgasm quickly, and so I if I know that, then I can do different strokes, and this is like I can do different strokes to slow it down. And the thing about that is getting men to breathe and bringing them back into their body. And having them feel things, and I do by slowing down. I slow down my strokes. Again, if you think about blood flow, so I was talking about cupping the penis, and then what I'll do, especially when it's soft, is I'll do a thing where I will pull the cock in one direction and gently push on the skin in the opposite direction. So it's kind of like stretching it out gently, and I will do that in like the 4 different directions, like a compass. So I'll pull him to the left, then I'll pull him to the right, and I'll pull him up, and then I'll pull him down. And that's a very nurturing thing. And ladies, you can give a man a penis massage when it's soft, and that will change his life. It does not have to be about getting a man off. You can say to your partner, boyfriend, or someone you're interested in, being like, hey, I would really love to give you a penis massage and have it be completely relaxed. Like the goal actually is for you to not get hard. It's just for you to receive. And that is such a game changer for men when they're so used to like their cock has to be hard and it needs to perform and it needs to get a woman off and not just once, but like a dozen times, just like the amount of pressure that they put on themselves of like needing to be hard and strong and long lasting and like all this stuff. So that's a lot of pressure and stress. And so to bring them into a space where it's like the intention isn't to get them aroused, the intention is to be really nurturing and nourishing to their penis. And you can do that just by like pulling those different directions. And there's some deeper moves for anyone that's interested. I can create something to guide you in that. But so I move the cock in the different directions, and then I'll really spend some time with their balls. That's a place that gets largely overlooked. It's an incredibly sensitive piece. And what I'll do is I'll pull the skin, I'll massage the balls themselves. I will take their balls and I'll lightly grab them so that they're close to the skin of the ball, so like really up close, and I'll take my fingernails and I'll lightly graze them. And that's like a magic money move right there. Like they really, really love that. And I will press and just so you know, these are techniques that I've trained around the world and I've studied with people, and so these moves that you're hearing gratuitously, like if you feel like you take any of these moves and they change your life, I would so love like a tip or a tribute for that, because I want to help and change the world for all of you. And it's a juicy thing, and I've worked really hard and gave everything I had to learn these things. Like this isn't something that came for free to me, so I appreciate any kind of giving back. So taking the balls and just moving it up against the shaft, that's a really yummy move for them. And so then I'll move to the lingam or the cock, and I just start playing lightly with it. It's I'm doing visuals right now, so I'm doing my best to explain. So just kind of shifting it from one hand to the other, and I tune in. I use a lot of oil.
And I'm not in a rush to get them aroused. Like I let them know that like that this isn't some kind of race, that it's about helping them breathe in their body and in their system. And so there's this piece, it's called the wave. And so if you think about most men, when they get to an 8, they're going to come and it's over. It's game over. But you can do something that's like edging them. And so in this edging piece, it's like if one is, they're soft, they're nothing, to a 10 that they've orgasmed, my desire is to bring them to a 6. And then when they're at a 6, they let me know. And then I take them down to a 3. And when they feel like they're at a 3, I bring them up to a 6 again, and then down to a 3 again. And I'll do that a few waves. And then what starts to end up happening is they'll get to feeling like that they are at a 9 in terms of arousal, but they're actually only at a 6. So they are going to feel like that they're going to come, but they're not close to doing that in their system yet. And so that's the piece when it gets really, really juicy, because then they're feeling like they're about to orgasm. It's going through their whole body. Oh my God, what's happening? I've never felt so much pleasure in my life. Oh my God, I don't understand. This feels so good. I feel like I'm going to come, but I'm not coming. What is happening? And so it's this really beautiful, fun experience. Oh my God, I get so wickedly, deliciously happy when I'm, playing, because I can see in their faces, I can see in their bodies, I can hear it in their sounds, and like their bodies are starting to move more, and like they really are feeling in ways that they haven't before, because I'm taking the time to do it. And so some different strokes. I have one that I call the Johnny Twist. It's my signature move. And the best way to see it is on video. So I'll just have to create a little mini workshop for women that want to learn some different penis strokes. But the key is understanding, again, the blood flow. So if you want to arouse a man, obviously you want to move the blood flow up to the head of his penis. If you want to calm him down, if you want to pull him back down to a 3, you want to move the strokes down toward the base of his penis, and even holding the penis there and letting it calm a little bit. And as a man is starting to get more and more aroused, what I'll also do is I'll tell them to breathe. And instead of it being the pleasure being localized in their penis, to making it globalized. So I'll tell them to breathe and pull the energy down that they're feeling, that arousal, and send it out to the front of their body, the tops of their bodies, down to their fingertips, and sending it down to their toes. So like they're consciously moving that energy out throughout their body and feeling that kind of pleasure and arousal. And so I'll say that, like, how does it feel to have this arousal and pleasure in every cell of your body? That's not just in your penis, but it's through your whole body. Like, what is that feeling like? Oh my God, this is the sexiest experience I've ever had in my life. Oh my God, this is ecstasy. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm high, like it's, so it's really, it's a beautiful thing. And there's a lot of twisting motions and stuff. But so what ends up happening, my hands start doing these moves that I've never done before. And it's their cock is telling my hands what it wants. My hands are listening to it and are responding in kind. And it's like moves they've never seen. It's moves I've never seen, but it's like definitely having an impact. And there was this, and so it's cool because I'm like learning new moves every day in a way. And there was this one move that I was doing that I had my hand at the base of his cock, but I was like pressing on his testicles pretty firmly. And then I had my left hand wrapped around his shaft, going up and down it, and in a sweeping motion, like together, like both hands are coming down at the same time and going up. And he was like, wow, it feels like you're fucking me on top.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing that with my hands.
Wow.
And so he's getting the sensation as though I would be riding on top of him, but I'm not. And so that was a fun one. I have a signature move where one hand is twisting up and one is pulling down. That's the one I call the Johnny Twist. And I learned that from playing with one of my guy friends. And this guy friend of mine, I may have mentioned him before, but he's 50. And he's someone who he would come in 3 minutes, if that. His cock wouldn't be hard. He would pre-cum the entire time, and his penis looked small. And so he, like, his confidence as a man was like at a like 10 out of 100, like so low. And I kept saying, like, I would like to give him a massage. I want to like try, I want to practice on him. And I was living with him at the time with some other friends. And for 6 weeks, he told me no. And then finally one day at the end of a mushroom journey he was on, he's like, okay, I'm ready. I was like, really? Right now? Okay, let's go. And like went upstairs and worked on him. And so he went from coming in 3 minutes, pre-ejaculating and staying soft, to me working with him for the first time. And he was hard for an hour. He didn't come for an hour. And this move that I was doing, he's like, oh my God, I feel so aroused and grounded at the same time. Like I'm feeling so much pleasure and also feeling super, super grounded. And he was like, I've never felt so much pleasure in my life. Like it's in all the cells of my being. I don't even know what's happening. I've never felt this way before. And so that changed his life. It changed the paradigm of how he showed up. And then the next day he like went ahead and took some really masculine moves and took action and like stuff like that. And he was like, oh, it must be these Chinese herbs that I'm on. I'm like, yeah, it must be the Chinese herbs. So since then I've seen him I practiced on him a few more times, and each time that I did, he'd get this blast of masculine energy, and it was like he was coming back alive, and his confidence was rising up, because suddenly he's not a guy that comes in 3 minutes soft. It's like, oh man, he can stay hard for an hour and last and not have pre-cum, and and he can do that, and he can feel what's happening in his body and his system, and it's moving his energy, and it's super just so revitalizing, bringing him back to life. And he's been so appreciative and complimentary to my work since then. And last week he wrote me, he's like, I need some Jessica time. I need to I need to see you, and he's such a good dear soul and friend of mine. And so this is another reason why I love this work, is that I can have these really deep, beautiful connections with men, and it doesn't involve sex, but it's so intimate and life-changing. It really is life-changing. And this is part of the play. So, and now I get paid to play, which is what I wanted. Remember, Lisa? I was like, I want to get paid to play. And this is where I'm at now, is that I can bring this kind of healing and joy and release. There was the client that I was feeling for the first time in 4 or 5 years. I worked on him a few days later. He asked me to come back, and he ended up having this full body release of just all this stuff was coming out that he hadn't felt. He was thawing out like an ice cube that was thawing out, and he was able to feel again. And he had he called it a revelatory experience. He's like, who are you? So it's just, there's so many pieces to it, ladies. And I'm so, obviously you can hear, I can talk about it for hours. It's fun.
Yeah, I'm thinking while you're talking about all the men I can practice on. And here's the thing, you and I had a conversation about me doing this. And I was like, oh no, I can't. I'm not good enough. I couldn't possibly, and I couldn't, accept a tribute, because what do I know? Blah, blah, blah. I'm so inexperienced. And I was like, holy crap, I've got an entire stable of men I can practice on. I can build my confidence. I can play with different cocks, all different cocks. You were talking, I was thinking about one of my old lovers, not elderly, but ex-lovers. And he claims that he can't, first of all, he can't come with intercourse, and he can only come by masturbating, because he's been masturbating for so long. Yeah. He hasn't had sex with him so long, because they're separating or divorcing, that he can have all kinds of play. He can play all day long, but his is the only hand that can help him release. Yep. And I'm thinking, yeah, I bet you I could do it. I bet you, given the circumstances that you have described, that if he could get out of his head long enough, if I could do this massage for him, I know that he could, because he's an incredibly sensual man. and he pre-comes constantly. And as you're describing him, I'm kind of thinking, he might be a perfect candidate, and he's dying to get back together with me. And I'm thinking, well, you know what? Maybe I could do a sensual massage with him and feel comfortable with that, because I'm not interested in having sex with him, but I would very much like to play with him again. And now this is another thing that a revelation for myself that I've had this week, is that I want to play, but not necessarily always having intercourse or having sex. And I realized what I forgot and remembered is that I don't have an imagination. I don't watch porn. I don't read erotica. I don't imagine scenarios very well or very much. I write what I've experienced, but I don't come up with stuff myself. But if somebody suggests it, if my lover suggests something, I'm like, oh yeah, sure. I would totally do that. That would be wonderful. Like, this particular lover wanted to have a threesome with a trans woman. And I was like, yes, absolutely. I would do that. I never would have imagined doing it. I would never have imagined it for myself. But when somebody suggests it, I realize I'm so open to suggestion. And I really thrive on my lovers' desire and what they enjoy so much, that I feel like this is something that I can try that could make me happy, and they get to enjoy the ride as well. Like, there's what could be bad about it? Me doing it badly could be bad. But if my intent, I feel like, wow, maybe I'm afraid of touching cocks with my hands, because I just don't have enough experience doing it. And I feel like now, if I just choose all these lovers to practice on,
yeah,
they love me, they already enjoy me in other ways. Why not practice with them for this? Because this is really something I'm very keen on learning. You've made it sound like so much fun and
so sensual. Yeah, so sensual.
Thank you. It's really a real gift, and I love that, Lisa. And ladies, the power is in your hands. Literally, the power is in your hands, and I remind myself of that, and I'm so grateful for my hands. Like, I like kiss them. I'm so grateful that what they can do and bring to anybody. And it doesn't even have to be sensual, but I give an amazing shoulder massage. I give an amazing neck massage. And it's, I listen to the people, and I hear their sounds, and I keep going with it. And there was a move that I did yesterday on the guy that had the revelatory. He loved my massages so much. He's like, can you come back tomorrow? Like, and I'm so grateful for that. That was like kind of like the first time that's happened where he's had such like this existential experience, and he recognizes it. And he's like, can you come back tomorrow? Can you come back again? So I had seen him like 3 times in like the span of 4 days. Like, what a gift to me, because I know that the more the work that they do with me, like the more their life actually changes and they can feel it. So, but there was a move. So one of the things I really wanted to mention too, is that it's not about getting all the moves right. Like, trust your body. Like, so there's a point where I will start channeling, meaning like something else like comes through. Like, I just like let my body go, and my body, which is our bodies are its own intelligence system that's independent of our egos and minds. I swear to you, my body communicates even when my mind doesn't even know what's happening. And so I will kind of like switch off my mind in a way, and my body will take over, and it'll just start doing like these different strokes and moving around, and ooh, this feels really yummy for me, so I'm going to do this more, and oh, I really like this. And like, and if men know that you're happy and enjoying it, they're happy, they're ecstatic. If they know that you're just going through the motions, ladies, don't do it.
Totally right.
Don't do it.
I completely agree. And Jess, I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, is being present. And we can all feel if someone's present. And oftentimes in our busy lives, it's almost a full circle about how we started about corporate America, and how for you, it just drained your soul. And now you can be present, and we have the opportunity. I think that's really, really important as well. Being present.
It's
Yeah, being
super present. And then the most important thing, I think, out of all of this too, to really drive home, and this is in a kink, this is if you're playing in kink, this is if you're doing play session, this is if you're doing sensual body massage, is kind of asking them, is having aftercare, meaning you don't just like finish and you're like, okay, so that was fun, all right, thank you so much,
yeah,
exactly.
see you.
Yeah. It's taking it out of a transactional experience and making it more of a relational experience. But like when I was in Midori's Forte Femme Intensive, and she was talking about aftercare, and she's like, if couples talked about aftercare, and this can be like if you're after you have sex and stuff, if they talked about aftercare, she's like, I believe the number of divorces would drop significantly.
I absolutely agree with you. And Jess, you and I were speaking about that. Remember when we were talking, when I talked about going down to Vegas and meeting up with a friend of mine. And you mentioned aftercare. And again, as someone who's more vanilla, it's super important to me. I just didn't know how to ask for it. And again, looking back at my past relationships, I'm like, oh, if you would have just, held me, not turned your back or got up or whatever. Everybody's got a different, whatever. Just sit there for a few minutes, a half an hour, and just hold me. It's life-changing for sure. Please share more about aftercare, because I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, so aftercare is it's something that I personally learned from Midori, and Midori is a fantastic sex educator. She's like the OG to me, she's the OG in kink and BDSM. She was in San Francisco in the 90s and was around like all the different groups of people that were playing together, the divas, the Leathermans, the gays, the trans, like all the people. So she got to learn, like this was before they had safe words. There wasn't a safe word yet in kink. So she was like in it, like kind of like in the ground level of things being built. And so I have massive respect for her. She teaches workshops and does things online. She has a Patreon. Like I just huge, like I respect her so much. And she does shibari as well, which is the sensual form of bondage, Japanese bondage. So aftercare is basically like, so after we've played, after we've had sex, after we've had our date, whatever. It could even be like if you've gone on a date with somebody, because how many times it's like maybe you want to connect with the person at the end of the night with a text and be like, that was such a great evening, thank you so much. And maybe they're like, I like to take 3 days off and just kind of like sit with it, but you don't know that. Right. So we're taking the mystery out, the mystery that can lead to disconnection. Like have the mystery be when you've had the conversation, you've built the playground, and then it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do together? Now that we know what we don't want, we know what we do want, how do we mix these things together and come up with something really yummy play? But the aftercare, if you're someone that needs to be held, like most women do enjoy being held. And, sometimes if the partner was like, I like to take a shower. As soon as we're done, I got to clean off. And then there's some people, they're like, they just want to lay in their juices and their yumminess. They want to be there. So it's like, how do you meet each other there? So if it was like, babe, I would love so much if like for 5 minutes we could just hold each other and then like you can go and take a shower, but it just still helps me feel really connected to you. Like, is that okay? And, chances are like you'll find a way of negotiating so that you both can get your needs met. There was a guy that I connected with in Mexico. I just absolutely adore it. Oh, I love the young men. They're so delicious. And he was like, I like to discuss afterwards, like feedback. Like what worked and what felt good and what didn't, or what could have been different, or things like that. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, all right, we'll do some feedback stuff. So that was a really neat piece of like the aftercare. It's like, oh, let's hang out in bed and like have feedback and chat. And I'm like, yeah, and can we eat some food? He's like, absolutely. So I'm like, cool. So, it's like we can get all of our needs met. But if the other partner doesn't know that, and then that's where it feels like it's like it's like you're so close to crossing the finish line, right? It's like a grand slam for sure. And then it's almost like the aftercare piece, if that doesn't get nailed, it feels like someone caught the pop fly and you lost the game.
Yep. Here's the thing though. I'm not sure, Ella, how often have you, I mean, I was married before I was dating, right? So I'm married before I actually started dating, and I started dating inside the lifestyle. So I had the opportunity to learn these things before I was in the dating scene. So I'm asking you, Ella, because you're less aware of all the things that we've been talking about.
Mm-hmm.
How much in your life up until now, how often in your life up until now would you have had these conversations with men, with your partners?
I would have never had these conversations with men.
I think that
Never. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm inspired, or I'm encouraged by the fact that Jess is meeting these kinds of men who are open to having these conversations.
Yeah.
And I am too. And it could be because we're only connecting with, we're only getting into intimate situations with men that we know we can have these conversations with. But I'm wondering how it is that we introduce this concept into a dating life. So
I've actually thought a lot. Yeah, I've actually thought a lot about this since we started talking, especially, and with Jess, right? Again, I never even heard of the word aftercare. I just knew in certain situations it didn't feel good. So I'll share an experience. I dated a guy for about 4.5 years or so. There was no, I'm going to say no intimate connection. There just wasn't. I was, I'll just say there wasn't. But one of the things that was very difficult for me is after we were done having sex, and it was literally sex, it was very short. There was no intimacy and no connection. He would roll over, like literally roll over. And sometimes he'd just flat get up, right? And be gone. I'm like, wait a second, what happened, right? Not only did we not have a connection, but we really don't have a connection. So since we started talking about this, and with my new boyfriend, which is a very different lover, very, very different, fantastic with intimacy, sexually, everything, right? I love having our conversations because I'm like, oh yeah, it's really good. But we have a conversation about that. And I was so sad. I had a guy that I saw once in a while in between my last 4-year relationship and then my new boyfriend. And I had sex with him, and I personally rolled over my back to him. And I laid there and he was asking to hold me. And I cried. I'm like, what the fuck happened? Excuse me. What happened where there is just no connection? And now I'm expecting that. So it was broken, obviously. But now my lover is very much the opposite. He will hold me tight for hours if that's what I need. He will not get up. He won't wash off. I'm one of those. I love juiciness. I love it. He loves it too. You can be we joke. You can have an ocean. We can be sleeping in an ocean. It's no big deal. Doesn't matter if it's cold. There's no towel. Doesn't matter. It's great, right?
Right.
So it's like that's what I needed as a lover. And we can talk about. We have a very open dialogue now, and I believe thanks to this. We talked about edging. We do it, but we talked about edging. And he's like, oh yeah. So it's just all these fun little things. So I love this. So I think it's me. I think it's the choice of men. I think it's me just mentioning that I have the power. It's me becoming my own dom is really what it is. And having that permission and just saying, no, that's not working, and moving away from it. So anyway.
Yeah, my lover this week. So I want to congratulate you for having great conversations. And I was wondering if your lover, your erotic journey, I guess the only way, is your sex different because we are having these conversations?
I would say,
is your experience of sex and relationship different because we have started talking so openly about this? Are you seeing the effects of
yes. So I say yes. And I think it's with me. However, he's a great lover. And because of his past, I'm going to say that, the hurts, the disappointments, the loves, all these, because of life, right? Because he's older. He's older. He's in his 60.
Mm-hmm.
So accumulation of life, I think, and me being open, and there's just this incredible connection. I've shared it with Jess, right? That I'm completely open. We just talk about it. We talk about it. Like after this conversation, he'll call us, oh, what you guys talking about today, right? So I think it's a combination, but great lover, history, past, making it a choice to be, it's not about him. He's one of those lovers that, you know, if I'm feeling great, he's right there, right? And if we're not done for 4 hours, he's right there. He'll just keep right on keeping on. So it's really, it's fantastic. I feel super thankful.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to learn more stuff, guys.
oh, right. Well, I'll tell you, I had an experience this week with a guy that I've been texting and flirting with. I've kissed him. I've given him a blowjob. We sat in the back seat of a car and I played with him, right? But it's because I was introduced to him by a friend. He is not somebody who is in the lifestyle. He's not on the playground. He's 100% vanilla. And he and his wife are separating. They still live together. They're getting a divorce. This is what he's told me. And every time he asks me, he's like, hey, I'd love to get together with you. Do you want to play? And I'm like, yep, I'm available. Let's go ahead and play. He's just happened to catch me at times when I'm available. And he's like, oh, well, I have to see if I can't stop working. So this has been months of him asking me to go out and then backing out when I say yes. So, so I want to tell you, I want to share the Dear John text I sent him, because this is the result of us having these conversations that I had the courage to say this to him, because this guy is probably one of the cutest, most handsome men that I met recently. I'm incredibly attracted to him, but I'm done with the games. So I said, dude.
Yeah.
We started flirting and sending cute texts, but after weeks of that, I asked you to stop questioning my interest in playing with you. I asked that you reach out when you're available. I've called your bluff every time I was available to meet. You backed out or were just joking. I've been clear. You have never met a woman who has spoken to you more clearly. You are not paying attention to my words or my actions. When you're available to take me out for a meal, I will go with you. If you have deleted our text, in which I have been clear in the past, I will send you pictures of them. We're going to move forward differently from here on. Do address me, because he always says, hello, ma'am. If and he thinks that we're friends, but I don't call my friends sir. Hierarchy, right? Like, do not address me as ma'am. Do not joke around. Do not ask me for a favor, and do not consider us friends. I will not come out to meet you for a blowjob. I will not send you any more pictures. I will not respond to your texts, but I will not block you. I'm a woman who's available to date you when you are available. I'm a woman who is engaged in ethically non-monogamous relationship, not date married men who do not tell their wives about me. I'm not willing to waste my time playing flirting games with you. Ask me out or don't. You'll never meet anyone as amazing as I am. I am beautiful, available, highly sensual, and attracted to you. Men tell me I'm a goddess in bed. Men have whispered they love me within weeks of being with me. I create and keep deep connections with the people I'm in relationship with. You're fucking around and I'm tired of it. I really would like to know you to play with you, but I'm getting nothing but red flags and I'm putting an end to it. Start over if you wish. I love unconditionally. And the good news is I've learned that I can be in any relationship I choose. What's going on right now and has for months doesn't work for me. Date me or because you are a heteronormative cis male, we'll do it the old fashioned way. Call me and invite me out to dinner and we'll reset. If you decide you'd rather not, I'd appreciate you letting me know. I'll delete you from my phone book. But I was like, that was Jess. I was totally channeling Jess. I want to be clear. I want to make sure you know that I'm available to play. I've been available to play, and you are, just poking. Yep. And the poking of me made me think that he's actually not available, and he's if he's got the courage.
Yep.
actually step out on his wife, whom he loves. I have no doubt about that. But he's got to be in an unhappy marriage where he's not having sex and he's not willing to have the conversation with his wife to make it better. And I'm not willing to allow him to play games with me because I don't have time for that. I have men who actually do want to be in a relationship with me. Yeah. So that was my strongly worded, I'm not playing with you text to a guy that I have really, really enjoyed being with or talking to. And I'm fed up with the cat mouse game. And this was me being clear that it's not what I want. And I only because of these conversations was I willing to lay it on the line like that, because I'd rather speak clearly and have my needs met than guessing and wondering what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's so powerful. Oh, Lisa, love you.
Yeah, I'm a little hard to get it, but you know, I'm going to crack that whip.
Yeah, well, and this is how I play, you know, and setting up protocol, and this is also part of the play too. So I'm recognizing now that the more that if I get like frustrated or things didn't go well, is because I didn't communicate, and that's on me. I didn't set my boundary clearly. I didn't express my desire clearly or my need clearly. So when my needs aren't being met or boundaries aren't being upheld, it's because I wasn't clear in it. So it's like keeps putting me back in my power rather than feeling like, oh, he did this or he didn't do that or this happened or this happened. It's like, no, I wasn't in my power in that moment. So how do I reclaim it? How do I do better?
Yeah. And I'm actually in that right now. I'm recognizing I'm in a poly situation that I have been in before. And I'm sitting with it and I'm sitting with it rather than taking action right away and reacting to it. I'm waiting. And I can see clearly from a much higher perspective, it's exactly what's going on from my perspective. And I may be making it up, but it doesn't look like it based on results. And so I'll report next week how it all turns out, but it's been kind of fascinating to sit back and be with it rather than feeling like I have to fix it right away.
That's new for you, huh?
Yeah, it is. I'm a action. Like, okay, I got to fix this. This is a problem. It doesn't work for me and I've got to fix it. And this time I'm just kind of like, okay, I see that all the players want the same thing, but they're not operating ethically. And so I'm going to, instead of being the person, people, remember, I think I was telling you last week, people didn't want to work with me because of my energy.
Yes. Yep.
It was my need for everybody to follow the rules. It had to be fair. It had to be everybody playing on the same playing field. And I was the drill sergeant, making sure everybody was following the rules, and I'm not playing that game. Now I'm just allowing people to be who it is that they are and deciding whether or not I want to play with them at all.
Good for you. That's huge.
I'm going to try and change them. I'm not going to make them follow the rules. They don't have to follow the rules if they don't want to. Let them not. But if they don't, then I can choose whether to be there or not. And so that's what I'm sitting with. So I'm not trying to change them. I'm trying to see if it works for me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Empowering.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. The more that and there's got to be a faster and more fun process, right? So this isn't something that happens overnight, ladies. So I just want you to know that. Again, like if we go back to what I said at the beginning, like I was, I didn't want to look at my client in a BDSM session as he masturbated. I didn't want to look at his penis. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to look at it. And that was, a couple of years ago. So I'm not, and Lisa, where she's at with her partners, like that didn't happen overnight. I mean, there was a lot of troubleshooting that was happening during those times and a lot of growth in pieces. So I want to meet you where you're at. So wherever you're at, whatever it is that you're curious about, just start taking the steps towards it. taking it, what is something actionable, what's something doable that I can do? And maybe it's like, I want to know more and I've never experienced this. And is this life even the thing for me? Okay, well, you can reach out to a mentor like me or Lisa and feel that out for yourself. Or you can look in your local communities. I mean, there are play parties, there are sex parties, there are swingers, there's a whole carnival. It's there. You just need to know to look for it. And just start exploring more. Maybe there's other podcasts you want to listen to. Maybe there's other videos you want to check out. Maybe there's a book that you want to read. Like, you can take the action, but I tell you, I did not get here by trying to figure it out. I did not get here by trying to figure it out and trying to assess and have all the things before I did the thing. And that can be applied in life. It can be applied to a business you want to launch. It can be applied to anything. That you cannot have it all worked out, figured out before you take the step. You got to just take the fucking step. Take the step, take the leap. You'll be informed. You'll move so much faster. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we're going to shift this. Oh, this feels good. Cool. I want to do more of this. Oh, I didn't know that was existing. Oh, I'm really curious about that now. Oh, you know what? I thought I liked that, but turns out I don't. Cool. The only way that you're going to get that kind of information is by actually being in the experience, which is why I keep coming back to play. It doesn't have to be serious. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be forever. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to mean that you're going to change your identity and suddenly you're this other person. And oh my God, what does that mean about me? What does that make me? And I know that because I did all of these things. I've had all these conversations. And again, I'm showing up as the person that I didn't have in my life for you, for me, for everyone, that we have this opportunity, how to make this playful, how to make this fun, how to take the pressure off. And to the last point, Lisa, when you're talking about for people who are in established relationships and partnerships, how do we go ahead and have the conversations when we haven't for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 5 months? How do we have the conversation when we haven't? Yep. And I still bring it back to, how can I say it really sensual? I mean, you know what, babe, you can feel it. First of all, get juicy in yourself, take a shower, masturbate, whatever. When you're about to do an ask, for me, it's might as well feel really yummy and sexy and playful about it than feeling hardened, unhappy, and demanding. It's a really different place. Please remember, the men want to win. Alison Armstrong, men play to win. Men want to win. If you can give them something that they know that they can win at, they're going to be into it. So if you're saying you know what, babe, I know we've been together such a long time, and I learned something I came across and I really want to try it. It sounds really sexy, and it would really turn me on if we could try it. Would you be open to that? It can be that easy. Tell me more. What is that? Oh, what? And if the guy if your partner is not interested or turned off, let that be a signal for you. Let that be, the message. And maybe it's not the moment, maybe it's not the time, or I don't know, but start taking action in yourself to creating the reality that you want in your life. Because it starts with you. It always comes down to you.
I think I don't know how I could have told my husband of 30 plus years first of all, I'm not sure I could have said, I'm not having fun in bed.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how to have that conversation in a long-term relationship. We tried different things. We would do it. Eventually it was just easier to not try anything at all.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that it would be good to maybe next time or in the near future, have a conversation about how to have the conversation if you're in a long-term relationship, in 6 months, or in a year of relationship, in 5 years, 10 years. It doesn't have to be 30 years of marriage. It could just be if you're in a relationship, you're actually not having great sex, but you want to be with the person that you're with. How do you have the conversation? How do you broach it? How do you find the courage to have it?
I think that's great, Lisa. I would love to hear that as well. For all of the ladies, everybody who's listening, and then ladies listening.
Yeah. I think it's
very important.
I think first of all, we have to have the awareness that we aren't having great sex. We might think we're having great sex because we end up having an orgasm, but maybe it just starts with, oh, I'd like to explore something else, right? Even if you want to have, even if it's monogamy, because I'm poly, but it doesn't mean that monogamous relationships aren't of interest to me, right? It's just upgrading our confidence and upgrading our sex lives and how it can happen. Being poly is one way, being a dominatrix is another way, being experimenting and playing. But I think having the conversation, and this is what is happening with I'm going to call him the cheater because I don't believe he's cheating at
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah, or maybe I'll call him I don't know. Anyway, let's call him the teaser because he keeps teasing me.
Teaser,
right? Teaser. Whether he's cheating or not, he's not cheating on me. I don't care. But the teaser is I'm thinking that he's just not courageous enough to have a conversation about how unhappy he is. And if he were willing, I bet you they could fix whatever the problem is.
Yep.
If we were willing to actually talk to each other, I think it would be beneficial, just with fewer divorces. That would be great to start having those conversations. So definitely.
And if you need an intimacy coach, that's another thing that I provide. That's something that Lisa provides is, if you're having challenges in your relationships, I think that there's, like, the partner I'm seeing, he's said that, like, if a marriage gets to a point of a divorce, is because you face something that you didn't prepare yourself for.
Yeah.
And
completely agree.
And there's unexpected things that are going to happen. Like, someone wants to be poly and the other person doesn't. Okay, well, I love this person. How can I support them? And how can we work through our stuff? Get a coach. Right. Definitely get a coach, and get a coach in the field that you're interested in. Don't get just a regular coach who doesn't understand poly. Go find Lisa, because Lisa, or someone that's a poly coach that specializes in that understands that knows the journey. If you're interested in being a dom, or you're interested in sensual bodywork, don't go to a freaking Christian
chiropractor
coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, don't go to someone that isn't going to understand it, because they're going to talk you out of it.
Yeah.
I'm not here to talk you out of it. I'm here to help you, like, support you. Is this the path you want to go to? Okay, well, what's the next step? Okay, what's the actionable thing that you can do? Okay, like, what feels good in your system? Because you know what? My path might not feel the same as somebody else's, but I certainly want you to feel good as you go, and also know it takes courage to do it. And confidence comes from taking those action steps. So it will behoove you, if you think about the quality of your life. Like for Lisa, we were talking about earlier about, like, the heartbreak, how my heart breaks for the women who are me, who were me, who are the me that I used to be. My heart breaks for them. My heart breaks for them. I know, like, so deeply what it took. And now, like, for me to be on the other side of it, and for me I feel so blessed to have had the business I've had right now without having to hustle hard or have a social media presence where I've had to pump out content, like, every single freaking hour, every day, like, like, I've been able to do it, like, super relaxed. It's been fun. It has been work, but what isn't? And then I have time to be with my friends and their newborn and take care of them and be there with them. Like, not at no other time in my life have I had this opportunity. And so I'm super, super thankful, and I'm humbled by that. And I'm so grateful that I'm here, and I know it's possible for other people. So this is, like, for, like Lisa said, to go from, like, the heartbreaking and grief for what I've been through and how hard that was, and how I know it is, how burnt out and stressed out a lot of women are, and they're doing whatever they can just to keep food on the table. I know that spot, and I know the spot of feeling like homeless and not knowing where to go or what to do. I know that space. I know the space of, like, building something where I don't have anything else to fall back on. Like, I know all of these spaces, and I know where it is to be in a space like Lisa said, where my heart is bursting with joy because I enjoy it so much. And I also know what it's like to play for 2 years without charging somebody for it. So I know what it is to be in that play space and to feel out the kinks and the troubleshooting and, like, get there and build that confidence. So it's all there. It's all there. Wherever you're at the journey, I promise that between the three of us, we can definitely support you and provide you something that's going to help you feel confident and empowered in a real way, not like a conceptual way, not where you listen to Tony Robbins and it applies to you because it applies to everyone, which very well, like I love his work. I mean, super, super important. And you are a unique individual that has a unique life story, that has a unique destiny, and deserves to have people in your life that can support you in that unique way. So whatever way that is, like, I encourage you to find the person that's aligned with who you desire to be or move through that's in your life. Because I promise you, there's so much waiting for you on the other side of the unknown for you. And it's just finding the Sherpas, it's finding the guides, it's finding the mentors, it's finding the advocates, because you deserve to have a life that's bursting with joy instead of your heart breaking and being numbed out and not even knowing it. That's where I want to end that.
Sounds perfect.
I love it. Oh, I love our conversations, ladies. I look forward to it every week.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you, listeners, so much for coming along for the ride. And like Elle literally was driving. So thanks for like being here, listening to us as we go along. And these are very organic conversations, but as you can tell, they're juicy, they're full of life experience and tips and tools. And I am just so grateful that we're in this together. So looking forward to talking with you all next time. And I do look forward to listening to Lisa and Elle, and thank you so much. It brings me so much joy to share and express, and like Lisa said, get the word out there. Like, let's normalize this and make it super fun and juicy, because it is fun and juicy. So thank you all.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Until next time.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.